Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. The S extends as long as you keep smashing the like button. That adds oxygen to my lungs so I can keep it rocking. Thank you for your support. If you don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We train over 800,000 producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, Ray Shremmerd, French Montana, YG, NBA Youngboy. I know I'm missing a lot more, but there's a long list of Billboard charting artists. Today I'm going to show you how to make your guitar melodies cooler, and we're actually going to open up Ableton Live. So I'm going to open that as we're making this in FL. So this plugin is called Shreddage 3 Stratus Free. It's a tongue twister. Shreddage 3 Stratus Free. Okay, and you can get the Contact 5 player to open that up. So the cool thing about this guitar plugin is that it has mutes. So depending on how hard you hit the note, sounds realistic. Okay, so we're going to take advantage of that. So let's right click and go to the piano roll. And a lot of you don't understand that melodies are based around harmony, to make it simple. So let's start with just the note A. You have to remember that you don't have to, just think how chords are important to melody. As long as you keep that in your mind, that chords are important for melody, then you'll be fine. Okay, let's hit Alt, left click to restore the volume. So an in-between thing we can use outside of chords is chords are 3 notes or more. So we can use what are called intervals to make this sound full without making it a chord. So a chord, for example, could be ACE. It's a 3-note chord, a triad, tri meaning 3. But let's say we don't want the middle note. Okay, now we get that kind of rockish tone. So that's a way to thicken up your guitar melodies without adding a lot of stuff. It's just adding the 5th or adding the 4th, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's take the note away. Let's add it back. Okay, so it just adds that rock tone that we're used to. It's called a power chord. So the way we do this is you just count up 7 semitones or 7 notes. So whatever note you start on, you just count up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, boom. And that's called the perfect 5th. And that way you can harmonize your melodies without adding a bunch of chord structures and harmonizations that way. So now we just went. So now I'm gonna hit Shift and just left click and drag. Now the cool part about this is you can transpose it or move the notes around, hitting Shift and left clicking and dragging without it messing up, because it's called a perfect 5th, because the notes always work together. It's what the perfect word comes from. Okay, I'm making it super basic so you can follow along. Okay, so now you can add the notes over top. So if you wanted to be cool, you could try something by counting up 7 more. So you could start at the top note and treat it like it's the bottom note, and then count up 7 more. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could start there. And then now I'm gonna use my brain to come up with the rest of the melody, like da 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 da. I'm probably gonna forget that. So I'm gonna move quicker because that's just what's in my brain. Da, 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 da. And note length matters with melody too. Now in this case, the way the plugin's set up, it steals the voicing from G. So what I'm going to do is let the G ride out. Boom. And then you'll notice, I'll tell you in a second what G is to D, and you'll understand in a second. Boom. So your brain is the ultimate melody machine. It's just a lot of people, they don't listen to their brain. They listen to the computer, and that's why your melodies are terrible, because you're not thinking for yourself. Your brain has melodies going constantly. It's really your job to translate. It's just that most people don't listen to their brain. So I don't want that. Now here we could try a chord, because now this is called a suspended second chord. where we can add a melody note that we heard from our head and combine it with the intervals, and then all together it makes a chord. So let me show you what's happening. So we have the perfect fifths. Well, we did have perfect fifths, okay, as the main structure. Then I listened to my brain, and my brain said, okay, these are the notes we want to hear on the top. So this is like the top line melody. Gonna highlight all the notes that are on the top, so to speak, okay? Now, it makes sense because D to G, if you count up, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 semitones. And when you go up 5 semitones, it's called the perfect fourth. So there's a perfect fifth and a perfect fourth. Now, sometimes we use fourths, sometimes we use fifths. There's no one or the other. It just depends. Fourths are good for tension, as well as suspended seconds are good for tension. That's why this is at the very end. And tension is good when you're moving into something. Now this could have more movement. It could be like da-da-da. And then now you add the ear tickle stuff, as if, here's a better way to do it, in my opinion, is add another guitar. So let's clone this. And we may or may not hop over to Ableton. Hopefully I have enough stuff to move over. So now we're gonna treat this like it's a completely different guitar. I'm gonna pan one to the, I might not pan it, but we're gonna, okay. So go to your piano roll options, go to helpers, turn on ghost channels so you can see all the other notes we used on the other guitar. Now I need like some kind of tickle thing. So any interval. And again, try your velocities here so it sounds more dynamic. Something like that. All right, so now let's go to the main screen, the playlist. Let's right click, consolidate this track from track start. I forgot to do one thing. I'm gonna turn on the compressor for the guitar. Let's pull back the input a little bit. This is just to pull out some of the character. There's no reason I'm really doing that except to make it a little more even. Okay, let's track this out. Okay, now we need to save it so that we can import it into Ableton. So let's right click, go to edit in audio editor. Delete the loop. I like to do that. Let's save sample as, and let's go to our desktop, for example. Let's put it in the test folder. And let's not put it in the test folder. Let's put it in free one shots. No, let's do community NFT folder. Okay, let's just call this guitar loop. Okay, now we're gonna go to Ableton and open this thing up. So now we're gonna go to our desktop, go to the folder that we saved it in, and where is it at? Guitar loop. We're gonna drag it in on an audio track. Okay, so now we're in Ableton. I'm gonna mute everything else in FL. We're just gonna solo my voice so we don't accidentally hear two things at once. So you can do a lot in Ableton. One thing you could do is change the BPM, and it should lock to the BPM. And you could double click on it and change the way it interacts with you moving the BPM around. So for example, you could switch this to Beats Mode Complex Pro, which will time stretch it. So it makes it sound slower, or you could do Beats Mode, which does based on its speed, it will do like a forward and backwards sampling, which is, it'll play the sample forward depending on the speed and then backwards. So you get this really unique tone. You can mess with the BPM, just keep doing it that way. Let's put this on loop mode. So I'm at half the BPM. We were at 160 in FL, now I'm at 80, and I put it on Beats mode, and then I went to transients, and then have this on back and forward loop. You can put it forward loop, which means it plays based on the transients. It just plays it out based on the speed. So think of like sample chops. in a way. Or you can do forward looping. So for a glitchy type of melody, now let's pitch it down or pitch it up. Let's pitch it down like 3 semitones. Let's add some effects from our Narcos update for TBD, which are some sound effects. Let's add Kilo. I really like this one. And now it feels like it's a whole different thing. Now what I like about Ableton too is you can cut it and reverse certain sections. Like right here, let's say you wanted to cut that and I hit the wrong thing. What's the cut button? I always forget on here. Let's see. Cut is, let's go to edit. Whenever you're in doubt, go to edit and look for the cut feature. If not, oh, it's split. Okay, I thought I hit Command E. It didn't work the first time. Okay, so now we have that. We're gonna right click and reverse the clip. So you can reverse, small little parts. So let's reverse like the longer portion. So let's right click, reverse. Okay, now we can go to the individual thing that we just did, and this should be on 3. I have it on 2 by accident. Now we can pull this down all the way to an octave, or let's say 2 minus 12 is what, -14? So let's pull this down to -14. So it's gonna be an octave below the other chops. That's if you wanted a dramatic change. So it's a lot harder to do this in FL. See how it's just a little bit different? Let's do that for the second one too, so it matches. Let's do -14. Now you could even take it further, which is highlight everything. You could freeze the track. And this should, if you left click and drag it down to audio. Oh, we're already on, what am I freezing audio? We already have it on audio. My brain's on autopilot. Freezing would be for MIDI. Forget everything I just showed you. Let's reverse everything. A little too much movement for everything to be reversed. But that's how you can make the melody more unique, so it's not just predictable. Then you could add more plugins. Again, Narcos has the Ableton Live plugins. That's in our TBD plugin update, and it's only for the expansion. Let's try, what would be a cool one? Smooth Operator. So let's say you don't like that stop and go type sound. You could still put it forward, backward. Or you could just speed it back up. And keep in mind, we can layer audio. So put this underneath. I'm just experimenting now. But we could hit Control-C to duplicate, paste it in our audio, and have one play at the low octave, another play at the high octave. Now we're getting a little too experimental because the music isn't matching, but you get the concepts. All right, so let's pull it up. I just want to see what it sounds like pitched up. It sounds a lot cooler pitched up. Let's do 10 semitones. That would be 1 octave above -2. -2 plus 12 semitones is 10. So -14 plus 12 is what, -2? A lot of math here. This sounds more fluid. Then you can use fades. There's so much you can do with this stuff in Ableton. That's why I said Ableton's better for audio, in my opinion, than loops. It's like, where are you going to do that in FL? Okay, so that wraps up this video. If you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. We have a whole music theory series for free. You can learn melodies, chord progressions, modern trap melodies, not just like playthrough music, but actual sound effect stuff for the modern music. There's so much to learn. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. Thank you and subscribe if you're new. Peace.